What's new for you since last time, since our last lesson together? What's been happening for you? What's new?
Nothing new. I'm just keeping to study. I'm just keeping to study my driving.
Oh, yes, you're driving. You mentioned that in one of your previous messages. How is it going? How is your driving going? Is it going well?
I don't think so. I guess maybe the practice is too hard for me.
The practice is hard, but what about the theory? Is the
The,
theory all right?
the theory is simple, but the practice is hard.
It's much harder, the practice, compared to the theory, of course. What do you find hardest with the practice? Tell me.
Uh, to change 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 direction when
Ah,
I don't know how to explain it. Just when you have to go back when you go back and
go,
turn
w- w-
directions.
so when you go back, you mean when you're driving in reverse? That is the way we say it when you're going backwards. You're um, driving in reverse, or you are reversing. That's another way of saying it. That's even shorter. There we are, reversing. So for you, you find it difficult to reverse. Is that right,
Yes,
Judongling? Yes.
yes.
Yes, that's true. I see what you mean. It isn't always easy to reverse because obviously it's always easier to go forwards when you're driving and not as easy to go backwards. What about parking? Have you practiced parking the car?
Actually, reversing is one part of
Of
parking.
parking, of course. That's why it's so difficult. That's right. So obviously, if reversing is difficult, then yes, I can imagine that parking the car must be difficult for you as well. Yes, I can understand that. Are you using an automatic vehicle or is it a manual vehicle?
Uh, okay, this is a car which is only used by the by the learners.
Right. But do you have to change the gears manually with a gear stick, or uh, do the speeds and the gears change automatically? That is to say, just you need to use the pedal to accelerate and the brake to slow down, but not actually changing gears like first gear, second gear, third gear, fourth gear.
Uh, no, actually, for the new learners, I guess maybe we just need to learn how to drive it and how to stop it firstly. So
Right.
actually, now I'm still in the basic process.
Ah, you're still very much in the basics. So you're still very much at the beginning. How many lessons have you already had, Judongli?
Only three.
Oh, right. I understand. So obviously you're still very much at the beginning. So I can understand that you haven't done anything complicated yet, obviously. And but you do enjoy it, even though it is a little difficult.
Actually, I'm a little nervous
Ah,
as I just can't learn it well, even though the coach have told me for many times.
yes. So obviously, yes, if you're nervous, then you're not enjoying it as much as if you were relaxed about it. So I can see that at the moment it's a little difficult, but obviously I'm sure that as you improve and you gain experience, I'm sure then you will enjoy it much more because you'll be less nervous, more relaxed, have more confidence, and know what you're doing. And I think then you will start enjoying it.
I
So,
guess so.
Yes, I'm sure it'll be all right then. So that's great. That was a good English conversational practice that we did. And so now let us go to the subject of our lesson, the English joke humor. Remind me, what did we do last time in our last lesson together? Do you remember?
Wait, I can still remember a little. Uh,
Yes.
I guess I guess maybe we exchanged some jokes
Right.
between British jokes and
Uh-huh.
Chinese jokes.
Right.
Uh,
Excellent. And how did you find that? Did you enjoy that? Was that nice, interesting, helpful, useful for you?
yes, I guess maybe the biggest benefits for me to
Mhm.
share different jokes from different culture background is to
Different, did you say cultures or cultural backgrounds?
culture background.
So you wouldn't say
Uh,
culture background because culture is a noun and background is a
yes.
noun. And so you need to have, instead of two nouns together, one of them needs to be the adjective, usually the adjective before the noun. So you would talk about a cultural
Troll background.
background. There we are.
Yes. Yes,
That
I
is
see.
the usual way of saying it, the correct way of saying it. Yes, it's true. You have you can learn a lot from about the cultural background of a country, a nation, a people through their jokes, because
Mhm.
the jokes reflect also the mentality of the people. So you understand better the way the people think. You understand
Mhm.
their way of thinking. So, yes, that's very interesting. Absolutely. So, I remember. Well, I mean, looking back in the history of Skype, I saw we talked about the different jokes like puns and play on words and knock knock jokes and Irish jokes. Now, did I mention the Shaggy Dog Story jokes?
No, I guess.
Shaggy Dog Story jokes. So you've never heard of this type of joke, a Shaggy Dog Story joke?
Um, no, I don't even know what shaggy means.
You don't know what a shaggy dog is? Ah, okay. So a dog which has long hair, like a long-haired dog, because there are short-haired dogs and long-haired dogs. Well,
A kind of
where
suspicious.
it's a special type of dog, which has very long hair. You've seen that kind
Okay.
of dog, which has very long hair instead of it being short hair, like most dogs. Some dogs have very long hair. It's a peculiarity or a characteristic of that kind of dog. Do you see what I
Okay.
mean, Judongli?
Yes, of course.
So in fact, here, and I'm sending you the link at the same time of all the Shaggy Dog stories, which I found which were interesting and which we'll be able to read. So uh, the it's called a Shaggy Dog story because you see, just like a shaggy dog has long hair, you see because it's shaggy. Shaggy meaning long-haired. Okay, when
Mhm,
somebody has long hairs, hair
mhm,
has a lot of hair. Okay, well, these jokes are quite long as well. Just like the hair on the dog is long, that's why it's called a shaggy dog. But the joke is quite long as well. So it's like saying a long joke or a long story joke. So it's like a story, and
mhm,
it's quite a long story, and that's
mhm.
a peculiarity of it. That's one of the characteristics of these Shaggy Dog stories. So, for you to understand better what these Shaggy Dog story jokes are like, what I suggest is that we read that you open the link and that we read what it says, therefore, in the link. Are you able to open up that link?
I could have a try.
In the Skype chat. See if you can
Yes.
open it up. If you can't open it up, don't worry, because I can always do a copy paste of the contents of the link and send that to you directly in the Skype chat. But of course, if you can open it up directly, it is always preferable.
I don't think I could. I can open it. I have to tell you, I just can't open
Can't
most
open.
foreign
Most
websites.
things. Oh, I forgot about that. Being in China, yes, that's right. It's a little bit more limited in China to open up the links. That's true. So what I'll do is I'll do a copy paste of the first of these Shaggy Dog stories, so you can read it directly in the Skype chat. So that's an advantage, that we can always copy paste the contents of a website, even if you can't open up that website directly. So I've just sent you the contents of the
Wow.
first. Yes, I know. You see, it's quite a long joke. That's why it's called a Shaggy Dog story joke, rather than a
Ah,
short-haired dog story joke. It's
okay.
because the dog has long hairs, a lot of hair, and the story is quite long and has a lot to it. Right. So if you're ready to read, this is also obviously a pronunciation exercise where you practice reading and I correct any mistakes you make in your pronunciation, Dudongli. Is that all right?
Okay.
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 That's great. I'm listening to you read then, please.
Okay. Uh, should I start now?
Yes, please. That would be
Okay.
great.
Jokes such as a banana and a piece of string.
So, sorry to
Joke.
interrupt you, Dudongli, but you need to pronounce that fruit banana. Banana.
Banana.
Banana. So
Banana.
it's a bit of a longer sound. It's not like banana, but banana. Banana.
Okay. Banana.
Banana. Yes, that's better. Excellent. Very good.
Jokes such as a banana and a piece of string joke do this. In this tale, landlord is I don't know I don't know how to pronounce
So
this
this
word.
word is pronounced plagued. Do you know
Ah,
what a plague is, Judongli? What is a
no.
plague? Okay. Well, some people consider the coronavirus, COVID-19, the pandemic we're having at the moment, they consider it as being a kind of plague, like the Black Plague in the Middle Ages in Europe,
Okay.
which
Okay.
killed literally millions of people. And it was spread by rats. Not so much the rats themselves directly, but indirectly by rats, because the actual disease was spread by the parasites, the fleas that were on the rats. Now, do you know what all these words like parasites and fleas mean in English?
No.
Okay. Now, have you ever heard of, well, obviously you have. Um, Now, we actually had this, I think, in one of our previous jokes. Do you remember when we said, knock, knock, who's there? And I said,
Yes.
Amos. And then you said, Amos who? And do you remember what I answered after Amos who?
No.
Okay, let's try it again. Knock, knock. And then you say, who's there? Okay. I say knock, knock, and you say, who's there? Because this is the knock, knock joke. I'm just to remind you. Okay.
Okay.
So
Okay.
knock, 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 and you say, who's
Who's
there?
who's there?
That's right. And I say, Amos. And then you say,
Amos who?
Amos who? That's right. And I say, Amos Keto. Do you remember that? We had that
Oh,
last time.
yes.
Okay.
A mosquito.
A mosquito. Well, that's an example of a parasite. Because you see, the mosquito, he is biting you, and he is taking your blood. So he is feeding off you. He is feeding from you. That means a parasite is a creature, normally a much smaller creature, which lives off a living host. So that is to say, instead of what usually happens when animals kill and eat maybe other animals, but first they kill the animal before they eat it. But here, usually the parasite doesn't kill, or at least directly or immediately, the victim of the parasite. It keeps the victim alive, but it drinks its blood, or it eats a part of the victim without actually killing the victim, or not directly anyway. So, do you understand what a parasite is now? Like a mosquito that's
Yes.
sucking your blood.
Bear?
A bear.
Okay. I mean, bear eats the victims when they are still alive.
Sorry, could you repeat what you said? I'm sorry, I didn't quite understand what you said there.
Bear, the animal.
The animal,
And
like a bear, like a bear.
yes,
Yes,
bear will eat the victims when they are still alive.
a bear. Really? It'll eat its victims while they're still alive?
You don't know it?
I didn't know that. I thought a bear used to kill its victims and then eat the victims afterwards. So,
Okay.
are you sure?
From my knowledge.
Oh, really?
Okay,
I
from
never
my
heard of
knowledge,
that.
I think so.
Wow, I never heard of that.
Okay, I can search it.
That's interesting. If you can find information about that, I'd be very interested, because I've never heard about that. But at least I know usually that lions and tigers, they tend to kill their victim before feeding from it, before eating it, usually. But that's interesting if a bear keeps the animal alive when they're eating from it. But at least now you know what a parasite is. It's like a mosquito, which is like feeding from you whilst you are still alive. Okay? It's like taking blood.
Okay.
So now, these rats, okay, were covered with fleas. So I'll write some of these words for you so you're familiar with them, like parasite. And the plague was called the bubonic plague, also called the Black Death. That was in the Middle Ages in
I know.
Europe.
I know
You've heard of
this.
that? Yes.
Yeah.
And these
Yeah.
fleas,
We have learned it from our history books.
you've heard of that, yeah, in the history lessons. Yes, you've learned about that. And the fleas were the little parasites, very small, like almost microscopic, just like 1 millimeter or less than a millimeter in diameter. They're like ticks. If you've heard of a tick, have you heard of a tick? A tick. That's
Tick.
another type of insect. Yes, a tick. So they are just little creatures, even smaller than ants, and they also drink
Oh.
a person's blood, and they are usually found on rats because they're also drinking the blood of the rats. But they carry this disease called the plague, the bubonic plague, and this disease was transferred from the rats or from the fleas to human beings. So going from animals to human beings, which is typically the case of the coronavirus, because coronavirus describes a virus that is spread from animals to human beings. And there's been cases of coronaviruses before, like I don't know if you've heard of swine fever or the pig flu. If you've heard of the bird flu, aviary flu, heard of SARS, MERS. These are all respiratory diseases which have been spread by different types of animals, and we believe that it was through bats that were sold at a live animal market that caused the disease, the virus, to go from the animal to the human being for the COVID-19, which is a type of coronavirus. Coronavirus is actually a more general name covering different diseases, some of which we've had in the past, but this particular form, the COVID-19, is probably one of the worst cases of it, or most extreme forms of it. So now you understand more about this plague, what it is. But here it's the verb to plague somebody. Now, just like a disease is something which disturbs you, troubles you, upsets you, if you plague somebody, you are disturbing them, you are upsetting them, you are troubling them. And it's in that sense that the word or the verb to plague a person is used. You understand that? Okay,
Yes.
good. I'll let you continue the reading then, please, Zong Lin.
Actually, I don't know. I still don't know the word. Plagued by blood.
Okay. The word leprechaun. Can you say leprechaun?
Leprechaun.
Leprechaun, yes. You know what a leprechaun is, Zong Lin?
No.
You've never heard of a leprechaun? No?
No.
Are you familiar with Ireland and the Irish people? You know, the people from Ireland, the Irish?
I know.
You know a little bit about them. Have you heard of St. Patrick's Day?
No.
That's when they celebrate their national day. They're all dressed in green because green is their national color. Okay, that's the color of Ireland. And so the leprechaun is actually like a mythological fantasy character that you can find in fairy tales, a bit like goblins, pixies, fairies, hobbits, ogres, and all these other imaginary characters. And this leprechaun is a bit like a dwarf dressed in green with a very big green hat. Actually, the hat's almost as big as the actual leprechaun itself, you see. So it's a very big hat that he wears. And the story is that he has hidden a treasure, which is a crock of gold, crock being like pot, okay, a very big cooking pot, filled with pieces of gold coins, and he's hidden this treasure at the end of the rainbow. Now, do you know where the end of the rainbow is? Do you know when you see a rainbow and you see it touch the earth? Okay.
I know
So
the word.
you know that. So do you know where the actual end of the rainbow is? Where the rainbow actually touches the ground, touches the earth? Do you know where that is? So there's two edges, of course, of the rainbow. So it goes around like that. So there's two places where it touches the ground, the earth.
Yeah.
And have you ever been to the end of the rainbow, to the place where the rainbow touches the ground, touches the earth? Have you ever been there?
No.
No.
I'm not interested in natural.
Not
in nature.
Are you not all that interested in nature? Okay. Well, actually, this again is just fantasy because a rainbow will never touch the earth because it's something you see in the sky. But even if you look at it from far away, even if you have the impression it goes down to the earth, it never actually touches the earth. It's always in the sky. Okay.
Yes.
So obviously, this story about a crock of gold being hidden or buried at the end of the rainbow obviously doesn't exist because a rainbow never touches the earth. So there's no way you
Yes,
can
I
hide
know.
a treasure there.
I know.
But this is a story about the leprechaun. So at least now you're more familiar about this mythological, legendary character called a leprechaun.
Mhm.
Okay, that's great. Wonderful. So I'll let you continue the reading then, Ji Dongli.
Okay. Uh, by a leprechaun
That's
who
right.
each evening prevails upon him to learn the
Prevails. Each evening prevails.
prevail.
Yes. Do you know that word prevails? Do you know what it means?
No.
To prevail? Okay. There's actually a verse in the Bible where Jesus is talking to his disciple Peter, and he says, "You are Peter," because Peter means rock or stone, you see, especially in French. The word Pierre means a stone. And he says to Peter, "You are Peter, like you are stone or rock, and on this stone, on this rock, I will found, like build, construct, my church, and the gates of hell will not prevail against it." So the
Mhm.
gates of hell will not be able to come against it, you see?
Oh,
So
okay.
it means will not be able to assault it or attack it. And here, in this context, each evening um, he prevails upon him. That is, he comes upon him, almost like assaulting him, attacking him, like really um, almost imposing himself upon him.
Oh,
See what I mean? Like an
yeah.
imposition, you see. Okay. So now you understand that. Okay, we can continue the reading then, Ji Dongli. You're doing well. Excellent. Very good.
Evening prevails.
Prevails.
Veil.
Very good.
Prevail. Okay.
Excellent.
Pre- prevails. Upon him lands the leprechaun half.
Right.
Then a quarter. Then
Yes.
an eighth, and
Yeah.
so on.
Yes.
This joke can and has gone on for over an hour.
Can you imagine a joke that lasts more than an hour? Have you ever heard of such a joke, Ju Dongli?
No, okay, I will never
You've never heard of that
hear.
before. No.
Okay,
But
okay.
you're not, sorry?
According to my
Yes?
personality, I will
Uh-huh.
not hear such a long joke, even though it's truly interesting.
You wouldn't have the patience to spend more than an hour listening to a very long joke. You wouldn't
Not
have the patience to do that, no. So,
not even half an hour.
but you see, this is why these jokes are called Shaggy Dog Stories, like the dog which has
Yes,
long hairs, because this is a very long joke. If it lasts more than an hour, it's very long indeed, you see. So, because
yes.
you've never heard of this kind of joke, I imagine you don't have these jokes in your country. Uh, so, if you've never heard of this joke, then as far as you know, these jokes don't exist where you live. Is that correct? In China, you don't have those kind of jokes.
Actually, uh, if there is a joke
Yes.
which could last for an hour, we prefer to say it as a story, not a joke.
Well, exactly. It is like a story. That's why this is a particular type of joke. This is why it's called a shaggy dog story. It's not called a shaggy dog joke, but
Uh-huh.
it's called a shaggy dog story joke. That is to say, it does look more like a story than a
Yeah.
joke because it's so
Yes.
long. And you're quite
Yeah.
right in saying that. But because it's also funny, or at
Uh,
least supposed to be funny, it's in that sense that it's also called a joke. So it's both a story and a joke at the same time. You see
mhm.
that? You understand that? Yes?
Yes, of course.
Okay, wonderful, excellent. So you're doing very well in reading it, and you see this is typically British, typically English, because we don't find this kind of joke anywhere else in the world. I've had lots of other students who have done this lesson with me, the English joke humor. And when I tell them about this kind of joke, I've asked them, have you ever heard of this kind of joke before? Does this joke exist in your country, in your language? And they've said, no, we've never heard of this before. So I have the impression that it's only the British, only the English who have this kind of joke. So it's very special, you see.
Yes, I know. I guess maybe it's your particular culture.
Very particular culture, a little
Yes.
bit eccentric. Have you heard that the British can sometimes be a little eccentric? Do you know what eccentric means?
No.
Okay, so let me write this word for you.
Okay.
Eccentric. A person who's eccentric is a little bit different from most other people. It's a person who's a bit special, particular, has a very unique and original way of doing things.
Okay.
So it's like somebody who's a bit
Specific.
very specific, very special, sometimes a little bit extravagant, somebody who's a bit of an extrovert, somebody who's different from everybody else, and that would be called eccentric. You see,
Oh,
it's not ordinary, but it's extraordinary. It's not normal, but it's
very normal.
almost abnormal, you know.
Oh,
So it's
abnormal.
strange, bizarre. Um, some people would even say weird, but that's the way it is, you know.
Okay.
Okay, that's great. So you can continue the reading then, please, dear Dongli.
Okay. Uh, of a banana and a piece of string. Each
Yes.
night, an
Ex
explo-
explosion.
explosion
Yes.
uh, occurs in the
Yes.
room given to the leprechaun,
Yes.
increasing to violence and
Increasing.
increasing,
Increasing.
increasing,
Yes, that's right.
in,
Increasing. Yes.
increasing,
Good.
increasing in violence, and the
Yes.
quantity of banana decreases,
Mm-hmm.
beginning with the mere reflux.
Ruffling. Have you ever heard of this word before? This
No.
expression, mere ruffling. Do you know what the word mere means? Just in front of
Yes,
the word.
it means only.
Exactly. Very slightly. It's something which is only just a tiny little bit. So it's not like you say merely this, like only this, but it's mere in the sense it's ever so slight, ever so small.
Oh,
Something which is only happening a little bit. So it's the slightest ruffling. Now, uh, what does you have no idea what ruffling means? You've never heard this word before? Ruffling?
no.
No. So here, it's like the sound of the wind when it blows through the leaves of a tree. Now, you know when you hear the wind blowing in the trees and the leaves are moving together, and it sounds like
Oh, oh, so it means it's actually a kind of sound.
it's a sound. That's right. It's a kind of sound which is quite soft, actually, and it sounds just like leaves being blown in the wind on the trees. You see, like just like that. You
Yes,
see that? Yeah. Okay.
yes, I know.
Right. So I'll let you continue then, please, dear Dongli. Hmm.
Okay. Uh, of the bedclothes and ending in the complete destruction of the inn.
Hmm.
Finally, with his inn utter,
Ah,
alert,
utterly.
utterly
That's right.
destroyed, the
Yes.
landlord begs, landlord begs
So
to
the
know
the
what
landlord. It's a very
the land,
round sound. Landlord.
landlord
Good.
begs to know what Leprechaun has done, and
Yes.
Leprechaun at last agrees to tell him, but only on the condition that the landlord never tells anyone the secret.
Yes.
And to this day, he never has.
You see, he's kept the secret. He's never told anybody, And because he's
Yes.
never told anybody, well, we don't know either, you see, because he's
Yes.
kept the secret right to this very day. And so we don't know what happened.
Yes.
So because he's kept the secret, then nobody knows the secret. Nobody knows what happened and why it happened. You see, it's a secret. And the secret has
Yes.
been kept a secret, so nobody knows.
Yes.
So can you see that these Shaggy Dog stories, they're very long. That's one characteristic. And also another characteristic is that when you come to the end of it, you're expecting something funny or the understanding of the joke, the reason why everything else in the joke happened. You're wondering why it was like this. But in fact, usually you never actually find out the reason why all of these things happened because there's always an excuse. There's always a reason why it's not possible for you to know, either because it's been a secret and that secret has never been told, and so it remains a secret, and so we don't know. But
Okay.
there's always an excuse for not giving you the the understanding of the joke or the catch line, the punch line, the funny part of the joke, the ending, so you understand the rest of it. You see, there's always something like that. And that's very characteristic. That's very typical of Shaggy Dog stories. So it builds up the suspense. And as I say, it can last for over an hour. And you're really wondering, why is this? What's happening in this joke? You're trying to understand it, and that's why you continue listening for over an hour, or some people listen for over an hour because they want to know, you know, the reason why all
Yes.
these things are happening in the joke. They want to
The
understand the joke.
process also
The
interests
process,
them.
that's right. It's interesting, and it's so intricate and sophisticated and elaborate that they're thinking, "Wow, this must be absolutely amazing." And when it comes to the end, and they're really looking forward to the end. And the end doesn't
Yes.
come, and it's delayed, and it goes on and on for more than an hour. And at last, when the end comes, which is usually when the person says, "Oh, I really must go now. I can't listen to this joke anymore. I have other things to do." Then the person telling the joke says, "Oh, well, actually, we just come to the end here. And so the end is this." And then the person says, "It's because nobody's told the secret, because it's been kept a secret." And then that's it. That's the joke. And the person thinks, "Oh no," because then they're expecting something absolutely amazing, and they are still they're actually unsatisfied with the answer because
Yes.
it doesn't satisfy their curiosity because finally they don't know anything about what's happened. It doesn't explain anything at all. And so, in fact, this is a joke where the joke is on the person that's listening. It's like you're playing a game with a person who's listening to the joke. And it's like a challenge for the person who's telling the joke to see how long you can keep them listening. And the longer you can
Yes.
keep them listening, the better you've done. And they actually look at the time before they start telling the joke. And then they look at the time again when the person says they have to go and do something else. And then it comes to the end of the joke. And they see how long they've been able to keep the person listening. And of course, they always try and beat their record to try and see if they can keep the person listening for a longer time. And I'm sure there must be a record in the Guinness, the World Guinness Book of Records or the Guinness Book of World Records of the longest something or the biggest something or the fastest something. You know the Book of Records, the Guinness Book of Records? You've heard of that? There's
No.
a Okay, so I'll write this for you. So it's
Okay.
the uh, a Guinness Book of World Records. And it's a book in which all the world records are written, like the biggest
Oh.
person, the smallest person,
Oh, okay.
the fastest person, the strongest person, any record, a world record, like speed, races, sports, the
Oh,
fastest.
okay. I
Sure.
know.
You know.
Yes,
Okay.
I have heard it in Chinese, but suddenly just tell me its
Ah,
English name, so I just can't.
so you know this, but in the Chinese language. You know the Chinese equivalent, the Chinese version. Yes.
Yes.
And so I'm sure there must be a world record for the longest Shaggy Dog story. That is to say, the longest time that a person has been able to keep the listener listening to his Shaggy Dog story. And it may be several hours. It may be a whole day. It's possible.
Wow.
Wow, I know.
I guess
It's
maybe the
amazing.
story and the storyteller are both quite excellent.
Yes. Oh, you have to be a very good storyteller. Absolutely. It gives you practice in the art of storytelling to make your story captivating and interesting so that
Yes.
the listener is very attentive and wants to know what happens next, you see, and keeps listening. So you see,
Yes.
it's like a game that the British play with, especially the non-British or the non-native level English speakers who don't know about these jokes, and they're trying to play a game with you to see how long you're going to keep listening to the joke. You see, so and now you know about this. Then, if you hear somebody telling a very long joke, it's probably, if it's an English person, English speaking person, it's probably a Shaggy Dog story, so that you know they're just like wasting your time and seeing how much of your time they can waste and how long they can keep you listening.
Okay.
Amazing. It's amazing, isn't it? And it's typically British. It doesn't exist anywhere else. So this shows the mentality of the British, who like fun and games and who like to play games on people and have fun with people and play jokes on people. So that is the British mentality. They sometimes like to tease you and have fun with you and play games with you and so that the British, they like to play around like that. And so if you have that situation, at least you know what's going on and you won't waste several hours listening. But you said anyway, you wouldn't stay several hours listening to a joke. You would, but they would probably not say it's a joke. They would present it as a story. They would say, this is a Shaggy Dog story. Or they might even not tell you what it is. And you
Uh,
think it's a story. So you're just listening to this story. But in
uh,
fact, it's a joke. But the joke is on you, you see. They're like laughing at you.
okay, I still maybe it's still up to the interesting level of the story. You
Oh,
know.
it's still interesting. I mean, it's interesting to hear the story, but the story is very repetitive. You see, that's why you start off with half a banana, and then a quarter of a banana, and then an eighth of a banana, etc. After that, it's a 16th of a banana, a 32nd of a banana, a 64th of a banana, etc. So each time it's half the amount. And also with a piece of string. And of course, the explosion increases each time. So that is to say, or not the explosion, but at first it's just the ruffling of the bedclothes, like the sheets on the bed, just going shh. And then maybe there's a bit more sound, it's a little bit louder. And then there's some creaking and cracking, you see, a bit like the floorboards, like wood, when wood creaks,
Oh,
wood
okay.
sometimes when it cracks and creaks. Um,
Yes.
and then it becomes louder and louder, and there starts having bump sounds like boom and
Yes. Bull.
bang and crack and they start having sounds like that. And then it becomes louder and louder like boom and bang and thud
Ah.
and smash and sounds like that. And so all of these are examples of the progression of the Shaggy Dog story. And of course, uh, the final stage is when the actual inn itself, you know what an inn is, uh,
Yes.
Yulong. It's like a tavern, like a place where you can eat, drink, and sleep. okay, like a small
Yes.
hotel or a hostel. And so when the whole inn is destroyed, it just explodes, then that obviously is the final part. That's the end of it. And so that's usually what the person will say to you when you say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I really must go now. I have other things to do. And I can't
Mhm.
listen anymore." Then they say, "Ah, but this is the last part. You see, the inn explodes." And then they give you the final thing that they can't tell you because it's a secret. And that's how they
I,
do it. You see that?
okay, okay. For me, if I was told that it's just secret, I guess maybe I would feel that I was cheated.
Well, exactly. It is a bit like being cheated, but the British, they like to, with words, it's not so much like a scam, like a theft or robbery, where they're actually stealing something from you. Well, I suppose they're stealing your time, and time is a valuable
Yes.
resource. So, in a sense, yes, but you're being cheated in a sense that you're putting in a lot of attention, effort, energy, patience into listening, and then you're disappointed afterwards, and
Yes.
you feel it's not worth it. It's a waste of time.
Mhm.
So in a sense, you feel cheated, but the person who's saying the joke, he looks at his watch or looks at the time on his mobile phone and says, "Oh, another record! I've been able to beat my previous record and have the person listening for the longest time so far. I have a new world record." Well, a new record for me, you see. And so for them, it's a sense of achievement. You feel disappointed, but they feel that they've accomplished something. They feel they've achieved something.
That's
And this
that's
is part
unfair.
of the British. I know it's not fair. I agree with you. It can seem totally unfair, but that is part of the British mentality, where they like to play a joke on you and have fun with you and play around,
Mhm.
you know, and that's one of the
Mhm.
ways they do it. Yes, they do that. That is typically British, just the part of the English mentality. So
Okay.
obviously you could see that as a fault, as a weakness, as a negative point, but then, even the British are not perfect. Even the English are not perfect.
I
We
know.
all
I guess maybe
we have
it's
our
just
weaknesses.
because the cultural difference.
Cultural
I
difference, that's right. And
So
that
maybe from my point of view, I always see the, the culture
the
from
culture.
from
Yes.
my side. From my
Yes.
side, so I don't think this is a very positive one. But
Yes.
for you British people, you may think it's great,
Oh,
as
yes.
as a culture is
Oh,
was born in your place, not mine.
yes. Yes.
So we don't have that atmosphere.
That's right.
So maybe it's a little maybe it's unreasonable for
It
Chinese people.
is. Yes, absolutely. I agree with you. And that's probably why you don't find this kind of joke anywhere else in the world, because it's only those with that kind of mentality, the British mentality or the English Anglo-Saxon mentality, who are interested in these kinds of jokes, or at least in telling these kinds of jokes. So, as I was saying earlier, jokes can reflect on the kind of mentality and culture of
Yes.
a country and a nation. And you see, that tends to be something that's typically British, English, and Anglo-Saxon. Yes.
Yes.
So it's interesting. You've learned something more about the English culture, the English mentality, and the way they like to play fun and games with people and joke around and play jokes on people. It's like a practical joke. You've heard of practical jokes, haven't you?
Yes.
You know, usually practical jokes tend to be more of a physical joke. For example, if they have a bucket of water that's suspended just over the entrance of a door, and the door is just slightly open,
Ah.
and the
Yes.
bucket is
So
just
just
balancing. And that's right. And when they push the door to open the door to go into the room, the bucket of water drops on their head and they're
yes.
completely soaked, you see. So that would be called a practical joke, you see. practical
Yes, in reality.
joke in reality. But in fact, that is a physical joke because you actually wet.
Do
Uh,
something.
that's right. It actually does something, and something actually falls on you, and you're actually wet, you see. So
Yeah.
sometimes that isn't nice at all because you don't like being completely wet. When you're wet, your clothes are wet, everything's wet. But here, they do it with words. So they're playing a joke on you, like a practical joke, but just with the words, you see. You see what I
Yes.
mean? It's another kind of joke, but
Yes.
not in practice, but it's almost like in theory, because it's just theoretical. It's only words. It's not actually putting things into practice and actually doing something physical. So you see the difference there. Mhm.
Yes, of course.
Right. Excellent, Du Dongli. So now, oh, I forgot. It's your turn now to tell me a joke because obviously, we take turns telling each other jokes. So
Mm.
after the Shaggy Dog story, which I shared with you, now it's your turn to tell me a joke. I'm listening to you.
Okay. Mm. This the story is a little longer.
Yes.
Uh, the story is happened
Okay.
long time ago.
A long time
When
ago,
I
yes.
so actually and it was a little dirty. Maybe you could understand it
Okay.
as it's not typical Chinese joke. Uh,
Okay. That's okay.
so one day when I was in my home, uh,
Hmm.
that I started to watch porn, on the internet. Uh,
Yes.
but uh, but it didn't have any sound, so
Uh-huh.
I turned on the sound, but it didn't work.
Right.
Uh, so I just keep doing something
I kept. This is
to
in the past, so
yes.
you would say I kept doing something,
Yes,
right?
I kept
Okay.
I kept doing something,
Right.
to fix the problem, uh,
Right.
but it still didn't work.
Yes.
Finally, my dad came into my room, and
Yes.
threw two. Uh, I don't know how to say it. It's just the machine to create a song.
To
It's like
create. What did you say? To
to cr-
create?
to create a song.
The sun.
Uh, yes, a song.
Okay. Yes.
It's like 音响.
Uh-huh.
Uh, it's like sound sound equipment.
Equipment.
Yes, sound equipment.
Yes.
Uh,
Okay.
to through my bed. So in
Equi
this equipment,
yes. Yes. This equipment. Yes.
it's just appeared some sounds of what I have watched.
So, just repeat the last few things you said. Was there something to do with your belly, did you say? Or your
I
stomach?
mean,
No, I didn't really understand very well at the end. If you could just repeat the last part for me, please,
uh,
Judongli.
okay,
Yes.
maybe I will search it. It's Bluetooth speaker.
Blue?
Tooth
Oh,
speaker.
Bluetooth. Yes, I know the Bluetooth speakers. Yes, that's right.
Yes. I thought there
Yes.
was something wrong with my computer, but actually
Ah,
it was connected by the Bluetooth speaker.
right.
So that's why I couldn't, just hear the sound just through the computer itself.
Right.
But at that time, I was watching something very, very personal.
Yes.
So, uh, when I was trying to fix it, uh,
Right.
then but actually it didn't broke it,
Uh-huh.
so that's why my dad was going to come into my bedroom and
Uh-huh.
through the Bluetooth speaker on my bed.
Yes. Right.
And
So
it's
he was going to come into your room
mhm.
with the Bluetooth speaker. Oh, because he had the Bluetooth speaker, so he was listening to it.
Yes.
Oh, I see.
Actually, it's a joke.
Y-
It's a joke.
Yes, of course. But
Okay, you don't believe
it's
it.
no, of course, but it's original. I like it. Yes. That's a very interesting situation, which of course could happen in real life. So, but it's a funny situation. Yes, I see what you mean.
It was a little
Embarrassing as
embarrassing.
well, of course. Absolutely, I can imagine.
Okay.
Oh, well, that's great. Excellent, Dudongli. So, well, we're coming to the end of our time for the lesson. I've given you obviously a few extra minutes to make up for the delay in starting the lesson. And thank you very much, of course, once again, for your patience in waiting at the beginning whilst I was finishing off with my previous student.
Okay.
Because I have lessons where, like, when one lesson ends, the next lesson like immediately starts, and sometimes, it takes a little bit longer. So tell me, how did you find this lesson, Dudongli? What was your impression of it? What did you think of it?
Okay. I guess for me, the
Yeah.
reason why I book English jokes
Hmm.
is that I just want to I don't want to learn the joke itself. I just
Right.
want to understand
Right.
what is the difference between Chinese culture and English culture, and
Right.
so that I can understand the English culture better and could
Mm.
improve my thinking, my thoughts about
Yes.
when I speak English. So I
Right.
guess maybe the biggest reason.
Hmm. Absolutely. And that's exactly what we were talking about in this lesson about the differences between the English, British sense of humor compared to the types of humor you can find elsewhere in the world. And so, yes, well, that's good. That's exactly what you said you were interested in. So this has given you another, a better understanding of this kind of mentality, this kind of culture that the British have.
Yes.
Yes? Oh, wonderful. Oh, I'm so pleased that it was good for you, that you enjoyed the lesson as much as I did. That's great. And that it was successful in explaining to you things, for you to learn things that you were actually interested in, the exact things that you wanted to know more about, you were able to learn more about. So that's really good. I'm really pleased. I'm very happy for you. Thank you very much then once again for the
Thank
lesson.
you.
Yu Dongli,
Okay.
you're ever so welcome with the greatest of pleasure. And I look forward then to speaking with you next time
I
in
will.
our next lesson. That'll be great.
Okay.
Thank you much. All the best. Take care.
Goodbye.
Thanks a lot.
Goodbye.
Cheers. Bye bye.